Final Earth Talk, last but not least, for 2020 is from Michael Foster. Michael, it's all yours.
Okay, let me tell you about Climate Assembly, and it's going to happen here in Washington State this summer online. Something I'm working on right now. To protect our young, what will we the people do? That's the question that the Assembly will be answering. First, I want to thank the tree people, our relatives. Biological life forms take care of their young. Otherwise, they don't get to be biological life forms anymore. This life form stopped taking care of its young. We're going to change that. This is how I grew up near Houston, Texas. And when I had kids, I realized I couldn't tolerate that and do that to their home. Dr. James Hansen, former NASA director, proved in 2008 that we needed to reduce CO2 to 350 parts per million. There's an organization named 350. Nobody's talking about getting back to 350 if we want to preserve a planet similar to that on which civilization developed, to which life on Earth is adapted. Most of our plans, even the ones that 350 endorses, are aiming at 450 parts per million, which will be a disaster. I had the good fortune of meeting Dr. James Hansen. This was like meeting Darwin for me. He came to my criminal trial in North Dakota after I shut off the Keystone 1 pipeline to testify in my defense. And he wasn't going to be allowed to testify. He came anyway. I said, "Why did you come? Knowing you wouldn't be able to testify." And he said, "Guilt." Which was funny because I was the one on trial. And I said, "Why?" And he said, "I've been telling people for 40 years to do something, and you did something." I shut off the Keystone Pipeline because we are in an emergency. Here's what Dr. Hansen's getting back to 1.5 degrees Celsius now looks like. Actually, this is from 2018. 18% a year mitigation is impossible. If we'd started in 2000, it would have been 4%. You can see what happens as we approach like 2025. Basically, we just need to shut off all the power, all the fuel, all the lights, throw our keys in the ocean. We're not going to do that. And that's why I shut off the pipeline 4 years ago. Now the math looks like 20% a year emissions cuts. That's at least double anything we're going to get out of this coronavirus bump. Putting 10 years of pollution back in the ground is about 1.2 trillion trees. If we do both of those things, we take care of our young, and most life on Earth might go forward. That's our job. Not to say, oh, we can't do it, but to do it. Climate emergency. Extinction Rebellion has been shutting down London with civil disobedience. They have 3 demands. Number 1 is tell the truth, like I'm telling you right now. Get our government and our media to tell the truth, what it is that we actually have to do, and then we can talk about solutions. Then we can talk about what is greenwashing and what is a real solution. We have to get carbon neutral by 2025. That means 1.2 trillion trees, about 1 new tree for every 3 trees alive on Earth, plus cutting our emissions 20+% every year. That date is not going to move, even if we don't get started. And we have to have a People's Assembly. These are their 3 demands. Their People's Assembly is now wrapping up. So we're going to do this here in the USA, but we're not going to shut down the country to do it because we're already in a shutdown. So I've been working with 2 or 3 Sunrise Movement students, and we have now today gotten endorsements from the committee chairs in Olympia to call for a climate assembly for Washington State. This is going to happen. It hasn't gone to the press. You're the first to hear about it. This is the first announcement. Randomly selected citizens are then sorted to match our state's demographics by age, gender, ethnicity, income, political views. How many people in Washington State will not be able to vote in 2020 because they're under 18? 22% of our state has no vote in an election that will change their adult lives. 22% of an assembly can be under 18 and should be if it's about climate. 100 residents will be gathered together online this summer by independent nonpartisan facilitators, deliver recommendations to the legislature by September 1st. on specific climate policies with 75, 85, 95% support. And in September and October of 2020, before the big elections, the country can be talking about the will of the people on climate. What are the climate solutions that will protect our young? About 70% of Washington State, without hearing from experts or learning about policy in an assembly, a public survey says 70% of them know that it's happening. More than that are worried about the harm to future generations. But look at this. Even more than that, more than believe it's happening, want tax rebates for vehicles and solar panels and want research. So imagine what is possible after we hear from climate scientists and policy experts and get together with our neighbors, people who represent every kind of person and voice in Washington State, and we look at this problem and we say, what do we do to protect our young? It needs you. Nobody in the US knows what an assembly is. Our biggest hurdle with the legislators was not getting them to agree to it. It was telling them about something they'd never heard of. It's like introducing a child to ice cream who's never tasted it before. Once they understand what it is, they want it, but until they know what it is, they're like, I don't think so. So please use social media. Join us this week online, climateassembly.us. Let's grow assemblies in a dozen states online this summer. Independent processes that can accelerate climate policy in our country. The other thing we have to have in order to make this happen is civil disobedience, period, the end. Without disruption and sacrifice, the existing system will not change. Power concedes nothing without a demand. What does that look like? Well, get creative. Shutting down a pipeline is not the only way to do this. There's Wall Street, and so it really is limited only by your imagination. This last one's my favorite. Those are mothers breastfeeding on the streets of London. And the sign says, don't suck me dry. Become Greta. How did she become Greta? The most important, influential human in history is a teenager from Sweden who was unable to look away from this catastrophe. Her brain wouldn't let her rest. Live as if your house is on fire. Refuse to fly. Give your parents the talk. You know, the talk about the birds and the bees and how mom and dad killed them all. Give them that talk because parents will respond. Our DNA is wired to take care of you. Please find me. You can find me online, Michael Foster, Seattle, counselor, Valve Turner. 2 or 3 people are working on this right now. We need to roll this out. We need to find funding, private funding, and we need to teach people all across the country what a climate assembly can do for us while we're under quarantine this summer. This could change the outcome of the 2020 elections. Regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, every candidate should have to answer the question, do you pledge to follow the will of the people on climate? And then be given a menu of choices and asked why they will not endorse the policies that 80% of America wants. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael.